it was hot outside, man. I said, hey, look, man, let's go get an ice cream truck, man. And I got in touch with the owner of the place, and we bought an ice cream truck out, and we just went to certain neighborhoods and just passed out ice cream.
Richmond County deputies Alfonso Forrest and Joshua Freeman spent their weekend handing out the treats to kids in low-income areas.
As Richmond County Sheriff's Office investigators look into the death of a transgender woman found in a local park, several people, including those with the National Human Rights Organization, suspect foul play because she was transgender.
The Richmond County coroner reported Harris's death Saturday afternoon. She was found at Meadowbrook Park. Authorities are still investigating her death and have not ruled it a hate crime. President of Augusta Pride sharing these words. Augusta Pride sends its thoughts and prayers to Felicia's family and loved ones and asks that if anyone has information about her death to contact local authorities.
The murder of a transgender woman in Richmond County. Jerome Miller is charged with killing Felicia Harris. Harris's body was found in Meadowbrook Park in October of last year.
Today is August 5th, 2021. This is Captain John Tainer, Administrative Division Commander. We are in my office with Officer Alfonso Forrest, and sitting in is Detective Lieutenant Dean Boone. Are you a person of interest or suspect in the murder investigation from Richmond County as indicated in the article?
No.
And what was the extent of his questioning?
He basically asked me, do I know the person? How I got in touch with Steve Hudson. I don't even know who that was until I did an interview with this guy named Tyrus Tillman about mental health. I went up to a facility in Maryland, Harvard Grace.
Okay.
It's called Harvard Upgrades. That's where it's actually at in Maryland for law enforcement officers and military personnel.
Okay.
Going through some type of depression and everything, in which I was. I went there, stayed there for 21 days. He asked me about 2 questions about mental health, and the first thing he asked me, he said, "How do you know Felicia Harris?" The first thing I said, "Who the fuck is that?" And he said, well, multiple sources told him that I was involved in a homicide. You can tell your multiple sources they can kiss my ass, and you can kiss my ass. And that was the end of the discussion.
Do you know why the article would say that you are a person of interest in the murder investigation?
I don't know. I don't have a clue. I don't know that person. Don't know their names, or the individuals in that article or anything.
Okay, so you've never met Harris?
No.
Never been acquainted with her?
No.
Were you familiar with her before all this started?
No.
So when you talked to Richmond County, he just had a couple of basic questions for you. And
Yeah,
it was all based off of that article?
Based off that article, like, why would they say your name? Do I know Gunslinger? Do I know Taylor? Don't know who that is. Have I ever hung out at an auto shop there on Spring Road Drive? I know what Spring Road Drive is, but I don't know what. I even Googled it, try to see if it's an auto shop over there. Don't even know what the hell they're talking about, man. So I don't know who those people are or why they're associating me with that.
Okay, all right.
How you feeling today, man?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. So I talked to the chief yesterday. He filled me in on everything. So, you know, and the first thing that people always, have you ever had to take a polygraph for anything other than employment?
No.
Okay, so this is the first one.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember when you came in and the first question I asked you, were you nervous?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't recall what you told me, but I think you said yes, or you maybe it wasn't nervous, but you were anxious or something. But you, same thing applies.
Mm-hmm.
means you're normal. It doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong. Doesn't mean that you're lying. It can. But more importantly, it just means you're normal. It means you have, why wouldn't you be nervous? This involves your employment.
Right.
This involves you as a person. You certainly don't want to be here. I get it. I don't take it personal.
Right.
Hey, so I understand that. But, and if you recall, and the good thing is, we already have a relationship because you were here. So you know, man, I don't have a hidden agenda. I'm not marching to the beat of a different drummer. I don't respond to, well, we just need you to find him this, or no, that's not the way it works with me. I'm straight up about business. I believe in doing the right thing. In a situation like this, immediately the first thing that a person thinks of, and this is normally, man, they have to get me. They're trying to jam me up. I mean, what the hell? And what I explain to people is that normally that's not the case. The problem is that in many situations such as this, it's kind of like a he say, she say. They saying this, they saying that. You got the department and the chief in the middle going, well, we want to believe this guy. But this is being said over here. But we want to believe this guy, but this is being said over here. And what the normal case is, and it's exactly the conversation that he and I had, was we want to help this guy and clear him if we can. And what I explain to people is that 9 out of 10 times, well, actually 10 out of 10 when it comes to this, they're not trying to include you, they're trying to exclude you, but they have no other way to do it other than a polygraph exam. It's one of those.
Right.
And you can sit up there all day long and protest and say, man, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I didn't say that. But then it comes down to that. So this is many times the only way that you can get excluded, not included.
Right.
Does that make sense? But it's natural, man. It's human reaction. Hey, man, they're trying to jam me up. Why can't they just take my word for it? Well, in today's world, taking your word for it, ain't nothing got to do with you personally. People say, well, hell, it's personal because I'm sitting here and it's about my job. I get that. But it's not personal in the sense of considering the pressure and everything that's going on in law enforcement, and I see it from both sides because I've been a worker bee. I'm on the executive level. I get both sides of it. I understand. Did I ever tell you the story about the time that I was accused of stealing some money? Did I ever tell you that story when you were here?
Oh, that's right.
So just to give you an idea, so I've sat there. I understand. I get it. And when people say, "Oh man, I understand," no, you don't understand unless you've been sitting. So I'm working on. I'm a patrolman. I'm working in one of the worst parts of Atlanta, northwest Atlanta. It's about 5:30, 5:45 in the morning. Get off at 7 o'clock. I just happened to run this car. I see this car. It's got Mississippi plates on it. I can't tell who's driving it. Male, female, race, nothing else. But I run the tag. Comes back. And back in the old KDT system, it was that DOS, which is a black screen and it had white writing.
No.
I mean, this is old, And it came back and it would flash, warning, warning. And then it would have wanted, murder, da 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 da, this and that and that. And I'm like, oh shit, okay. So I come on the radio, I tell them be advised, I just got a hit. Vehicle wanted for murder out of Mississippi, da 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 da. I don't know, you remember Wayne Williams? Remember that? Wayne Williams was the child murderer.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it just gives you an idea of reference. So I'm at like Bankhead and Jackson Parkway. Well, Jackson Parkway Bridge is where Wayne Williams was accused of throwing the 2 bodies off as you go up to Cobb County. I think what happened was the vehicle got off there at 285 in Bankhead, probably got lost. I see it. I'd run the tag. It's 4 to 6 in the morning. So I start following the vehicle north on Jackson Parkway. So I'm telling them, now mind you, and if you ever work like the morning watch, about that time, folks, if it's slow, which it really wasn't ever slow where I work, but there was those times, folks trying to get a little sleep, they trying to doze for a minute, they doing reports, because they get ready to go off shift. So I start northbound on Jackson Parkway following this vehicle. I'm on the radio be advised, I'm passing such and such. Well, finally, I can see where the Chattahoochee River is, which divides the city of Atlanta and Cobb County. Over on the right is a huge power plant, and you can see it, man. I mean, it's huge and it's lit up. Well, I can see it now. So I'm saying, radio be advised, I'm getting ready to go into Cobb County, advise Cobb County PD. Needless to say, nobody on my side. So we crossed the bridge. Now we're in Cobb County. I'm still following the vehicle. Cobb County, don't have nobody. So finally, it comes to that point that the vehicle, there is a 24-hour Kroger that's open. Well, the vehicle pulls into the Kroger parking lot. Well, what you gonna do? It's time. It is, you can't let them out.
Right.
Because once they get into Kroger's, that's a whole nother situation. Two, you got other people involved because now so it's really one of those, this is it. So they pull in the drive. I come in behind them, get my vehicle in between. Got the spotlight on the windshield, on the back window. Come out. Door opens up, white female steps out. So it's not my picture of who I'm thinking is going to come out on a murder vehicle out of Mississippi. Again, that kitty too. So I got the gun on her. I can see it doesn't appear to be anybody else in the car. I never saw anybody other than the driver the whole time. So I bring her back. She comes back to the vehicle. I got gun drawn on her. I handcuff her. I'm still watching the vehicle. I put her in the back seat, secure her. I go back up. Nobody in the vehicle. So at that point, I call a record for it. Well, as we're sitting there, she says, officer, there's a coffee cup in the glove compartment and it's got some money in it. Can I have that? And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get your coffee cup. I'll turn it into property. Whenever you get all this straightened out or whatever happens, or you go back to Mississippi, whatever it may be. Because I don't want to ask her anything about the case. I said it'll be there, you can get it. I get the coffee cup, I put it in my glove compartment, I like it. Well, by the time the record gets there and all the rest of that, I'm supposed to get off at 7 o'clock, it's going to 8 o'clock. By the time I get downtown, I got to take her to the jail, that stuff. So we don't have to take home cars. I have to drive back to the precinct. By the time I get to the precinct, it's like 9-something in the morning. I had worked an extra job the night before I came to work, so I was tired. So I parked the car. I did my report, observed the vehicle. It was real short because really wasn't much to it other than, turned it in, got my stuff, got my personal car, driving home. I got about halfway home, and I lived in Stone Mountain. I got about halfway home and I remembered the coffee cup. Shit. So I go to a payphone, so you know how long ago that's been. I go to a payphone. Call a precinct, just happened, so there's a day watch supervisor there. I tell him, look, sorry, I go through the thing, reports there on the desk. I completely forgot about the coffee cup. Is there any way you can do a property and evidence sheet for me if you could do this to a supplement? I'll turn around if you want me to, but I'm super tired, but I'd really appreciate it. Yeah, no problem. About 4 or 5 days later, I come into work and there's a note in my box. It says, call Internal Affairs. Now, Atlanta Internal Affairs ain't like here. It's the real deal. Headhunter kind of. So that morning I got off. And I wait around. Well, no cell phone. I wait around the precinct. I call. Hey, this is Officer Tripp. I've got a message. Yes, we need to see you here. Now, yes. Okay. So I get in my car, I drive down there. So I go in, sit there, and they bring me into this investigator, and he says, you know, did you stop this food? Yes, I did. Well, she's claiming that there was $162.43 in the car, and what was turned in was $133.22. Okay. You know, I took the cup and put it in the glove compartment cup. Yeah. But she's saying this money's missing. Okay. Well, will you take a polygraph? Are you serious? Yeah. Well, now I started to get mad because I'm like, are you serious? You want me to take a polygraph? Because all kinds of things were running through my head. And you know, if you recall, one of the things that I told you when you came in, the biggest fear a person has, I'm telling the truth, but I'm scared you're going to tell me I'm lying. Well, now all this is flashing in front of me, and then I'm not a polygraph examiner. I'm just a normal, typical cop at the time. Know nothing about him other than the one I had to take to get on the police department. Well, I basically cussed this guy out. Well, if that's what you want me to do, I'll take the effing polygraph, this is BS. I mean, I really went off on the guy. So I was mad, and it insulted me. Okay, have a seat outside. All right. Mind you, I've been up all night. I go out, I sit down. About 45 minutes, all right, goes by. They come get me, bring me back in, and when I walk into the office, there sits a chair, a polygraph chair, and it's the old style, which I have on my screensaver here, the big, with the needles and all that, the analog. Well, guess who the polygraph examiner is? Who? The same guy that I just cussed out. Kind of imagine what that felt like. So now, man, I'm like, that's it. I'm done. Well, fortunately, to his credit, I found out later, and I found out there he was actually a very good examiner. And two, I was telling the truth. I didn't have nothing to do with taking any money. And that's clearly what the polygraph showed. So one, it excluded me. It got me out of the fact that I had been suspected of this. But it certainly, though I felt good about that, I still had a feeling about the fact that I was subjected to one to begin with. But as I've got older, and now certainly as a polygraph examiner, I understand it all now. I didn't understand it at the time. It just really pissed me off, and I just really had a real attitude about it.
Right.
And I'm saying that to you to say, you know, here we are. Now here you are sitting over there, and here I am over here. I'm that guy. Except the difference was, you know, we at least know each other, and we've got a rapport, and I would hope you would think that, you know, at least you're coming in here, and I'm going to be, you know, I'm a seeker of the truth. That's all I am. I don't have any personal opinions one way or another. I understand what the chief told me, and then we're going to sit here and talk about it. But I'm a seeker of the truth, and that's all I am. So just to give you an idea, man, so I've sat there, so I understand. I know what it's like. And it's not a good feeling, so I get it. So, all right. Let's talk about you a little bit. I need to find out some things about you. How's your health? Generally, good? Okay.
I got asthma, but other than that, I'm healthy.
Okay. How much sleep did you get last night?
I fell asleep about 10:30, I think. I was 8 o'clock.
Okay. And what time did you get up?
About 7.
Okay. Man, I wish I could sleep that long. When did you last eat?
Last night.
Okay. Currently or recently been under any doctor's care?
No.
And currently on any medication?
No, just asthma.
Okay. Have been seen or currently seen a psychologist or psychiatrist?
No.
Okay. And is there any other medical condition I should be aware of besides the asthma?
No, as far as I went to a mental health facility,
Okay.
back in February of this year.
Okay.
I stayed there. I went there there on February 12th, my uncle's birthday. Stayed there 21 days.
Okay. And did they prescribe any medication or anything for you afterwards? Or?
They did. I took medicine when I was there. I was on Remeron, I think.
Okay.
Zolo.
Okay.
And I think that was it.
Okay. And currently using any type of illegal drugs?
No.
Where'd you grow up? Did you grow up in Augusta?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I thought I would. What you did?
Asbury area.
Okay. And who raised you?
My mom and my dad.
I was trying to remember. I remember asking you what your folks did. Was your mom a teacher or something? I'm trying to remember what it was.
My dad retired from the fire department. My mom, she only had one job that I knew of. She got her when she was pregnant when she worked at Piccadilly. My uncle, probably won't remember, was one of the professional boxers they got killed in Atlanta.
That's what it was. I knew it was something we talked about relative-wise, and that's what it was. Yeah, because I think I made the comment. My friend, he's a personal friend of mine. He worked for me, and we've been business partners. He worked that case.
Yeah.
Vince Velasquez. Remember that?
Yeah.
No, that's what it was. I knew it was something we talked about.
Yeah.
That's what. Okay.
His death date was on 25th of last month.
Yeah. That's. All right. If you recall, when you came in on that previous exam, we talked about. You remember me making a statement that one, I said, which I said it earlier. The biggest fear a person has, whether they've done this once, whether they've done it 5 times, 3 times, whatever it may be. I'm telling the truth, but I'm scared you're going to tell me I'm lying. It's a big fear. And if you recall, my answer to that was that remember this? A nervous person telling the truth is very different physiologically than a nervous person who's lying. You remember that?
Yeah.
And we talked about that. And I gave you some examples of that.
Yeah.
And if you also recall, I asked you to tell me about a scary or frightening experience. You remember that?
No.
I don't remember what you told me. I think you described a call or something you were on.
Yeah, it was that. It was something else. I think that's it.
I'm trying to remember what it was.
I know it was one of the calls.
Yeah, it was a call you were on with some shots fired or something.
I was chasing the suspect. We got dispatched to a fight in progress in the projects. I beat one of the subjects. Dispatch gave a description out. Got in a foot chase with him. Got into a fight and I passed out. I had to be rushed to the hospital.
Now, see, that part I don't remember. So I don't know if we talked about that.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's when they discovered I had asthma.
Ah.
Yeah, and doctor said I stayed in the hospital like 2 days.
Thank God. I mean, did the perk get away?
No, I ended up actually handcuffed the guy.
And then you passed out.
Then I passed out, and I woke up in the hospital. They actually sent him to prison. He went to 2.5 years. He got out and committed suicide.
That part I do remember, because I remember something about you saying you saw him or something. Or
No, we got somebody told one of my buddies that works on 5 area. I worked on 2. He was like, "Hey man, you remember that perk you checked?"
That's what it was. Somebody saw him and said, "Hey, he's back out now."
Yeah, and he committed suicide.
I remember that. That comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And how long ago has that been?
That happened in 2000. I want to say the beginning of 2019 because I remember it was getting ready to get warmed up again.
Right.
That's what I remember.
I remember that because I remember the part about somebody saw him out and told you, "Hey," I couldn't remember if it was you or somebody else, but that he was out. Yeah. And if you recall, when I asked you about how long, if you remember, I said, though that's been 2 years ago, it seems like it was 20 seconds ago when you told me. And if you remember, I said, "Do you know why?" And you looked at me and I said, "It's because it's the truth." And if you recall, I said, "You repeat the truth,
I remember that.
you create a lie." You
I
remember?
got that in my notes.
You remember that?
I remember that. I used that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You repeat the truth, you create a lie.
Correct.
And the point of it is that it takes a whole lot more thought process to lie than it does to tell the truth.
Right.
Because of everything that goes on up there. Because you got to create it, you got to make it up. If you remember, I said we're not born to lie, we're born to tell the truth. We learn to lie from other human beings. And I believe, and do you remember when I gave you the example? I said, how many times have you stopped somebody on the side of the road, been on a call, and I said, and you've asked them, what's your name, where you going? Remember what I said? And they give you the, who, me?
Yeah.
What? Remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
And I said, and what are they doing? Create a lie. They get rid of a lie. You know it. It's immediate. The immediate, when you start going down that road, it's a lie. So that's why, and again, I'm going over this, and that's why I say a nervous person telling the truth is very different physiologically than a nervous person who's lying, because the physiology is not going to be the same. There's a whole lot more stress on the body lying than it is telling the truth, because the truth is the truth. And remember, I also said that what's the one thing always in the back of your mind when you're lying? Getting caught. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Versus the truth is the truth.
Right.
It really doesn't matter. So I just want to make sure you, and if you recall also, which led me into the 3 F's. Remember those? Flight or fight.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a first F, which starts flight or fight, freeze. If you recall, I said it's the oh shit moment. It's that moment or moments when the brain is so overwhelmed that people actually freeze up. They were so scared, they look like deer in headlights. He was scared stiff. That's the freeze. And as the freeze occurs, if you think back, and that's a classic example of what you just said. There came a point there when you passed out, there was nothing you could do about it. Mm-hmm. You couldn't stop it, the physiology. Mm-hmm. You couldn't, and it caused you to ultimately, you couldn't say, well, I'm gonna suck this up. I'm not gonna pass out of it. No, there wasn't nothing you could do. And this gets us back to a nervous person telling the truth is very different physiologically than a nervous person who's lying, because the stress that's on the body is not the same. It's just not. So, okay, just want to make sure. I'm going to ask you some questions. I want you to think back before this year, and only of a serious or significant nature, but before this year. Mm-hmm. Did you ever tell a lie to someone who trusted you? No. Okay. Before this year, did you ever tell a lie to stay out of trouble? No. And before this year, did you ever lie to cover up something? No. Okay. If you recall, after you sit down, I'm going to ask you to sit forward. You remember that? Raise your arms, touch your hands. 2 pneumograph tubes, one on the abdomen area. I'll bring the chain around, the other one armpit to armpit. The 2 little black finger attachments on the armrest, one on one finger, one on the other. If you recall the blue blood pressure cuff, I ask you to raise your left arm, put it on, turn it over, set it down. I'll put air in the cuff, I'll start pumping it up. If you remember, I talked about the fact that once I get it to a certain pressure, I'll come over and check it. I'll make sure there's no excess air or crimps. I'll come back over here, I'll make the final adjustments to it, and then I'm going to click it off. It's going to stay at that pressure. If you recall, we did the 25 seconds. You remember when we sat here? You remember that? And remember how long it was? And I said, well, I don't want you freaking out. I don't want you thinking there's something going on. There's a 25-second delay in there, so we're just sitting there waiting. I just want to make sure that, because I don't want to skip something, and then it, because I know many times polygraphs, man, people remember. They remember bits and pieces. The main thing is they want to get out of there. So so I just want to make, okay. I want you, for today's purposes, to think of a scale. 10 being the very highest and 1 being the very lowest. And for today's purposes of you coming in, sitting down, taking this exam, on the scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate yourself on that scale for coming in and being truthful, telling the truth as far as this exam is concerned? A 10. Very good. I get people who say I'm a 9. And I go, well, that's cool. If we were in school and it's a 10-question test, that's a 90. That means you pass, great score. The problem with polygraph is that you're going to lie on 1 and be truthful on 9, which means that 1 question is going to cause you to fail the entire exam. They go, no, I'm a 10. I'm going to tell the truth. And I'm like, well, why did you say you were a 10? Just as you did. Well, I don't want you to think. It doesn't matter what I think. It's what you are. So no, you absolutely. Let's talk about this whole situation here. Now, I found many times in doing this that what I think a person knows and what they know are two different things. Or they know a part of it, but they don't know everything. So other than the fact that you're here to take a polygraph exam, why are you here?
Because somebody allegedly said that I had involvement with a homicide.
Okay.
Saw the article, my name not in it, but everybody knows obviously who they was talking about because I'm sitting here.
How did it come about? I mean, explain to me, tell me the whole deal.
Okay, you know, I told you I went back to, I went to a mental health facility in February with my birthday. Doing this whole death, man, I just been dealing with like depression, man. Me and Vernon was close. He was close in the family. If you look at some of his fights and stuff, Vernon never really fought during the winter time because he always said that was, you know, time where he wanted to spend with his family.
Okay.
So usually around his birthday, his death date, and during the holidays and stuff like that, I usually like get myself distance, you know, so I can just like try to grieve in peace. I don't want to be around nobody and stuff like that. So it hit me hard last winter. My grandma was sick, and you know, her just listening to the story with her son, you know, and it just bothered me. And I didn't have a nervous breakdown at work, but I did at home. I was drinking, and EAP lady came out from, she lived in, I think I want to say Lexington, don't quote me on it, I think, but she was about an hour away from Augusta. And she called her night shift supervisor that was in the zone that I live. He said, hey, can you find Forrest? You know, he called me, said he was going through depression or whatever, he just got a lot on his mind. His phone is off. What happened was, I actually went dead. I was at it late. I went home, I was with my girlfriend at the time. I went to her house and it went dead. So
at least you were with her when it did being dead, because you really had a problem, man.
Yeah.
You don't mess with her.
No. But
you know she ain't gonna believe it.
I know. But he found my house, started to win where I was at, and he came out and the door was like 2:30 in the morning. He said, hey man, you know, everybody looking for you, whatever. Are you okay? I was like, yeah, man, just, you know, going through a lot. So he called Linda on the phone. Linda Dottie, that's her phone. She was the EAP lady for Richmond County. And she said, I tried to, you know, reach back to you. You said you was going to come back, which I did. I remember the whole thing. I said, I did. And phone actually went dead. And also, ladies, to go home, I was just tired. I just wanted to speak. And he said, hey, man, I want to get you help. We want to send you to Harbor of Grace. Harbor of Grace is in Maryland. It's Harbor of Grace, but it's in the city of Harbor of Grace, Maryland. And he said, all right, cool. He said, when can you go? I said, man, just give me about a week. He said, no, man, you can go now. So, not the next day, but 2 days later, I was brought up here by Sergeant Parrish, and he took me to the airport. And I flew out here. Make one story short, I stayed there 21 days. I came home, and still just feeling like, you know, foggy and everything, still dealing with a lot. Coming up to my daughter's birthday, it was 2 days before I came for my birthday. I came home on the 6th. My daughter's birthday was on the 8th. They let me go early. Usually a 28-day program, but my therapist and the counselor at the time was like, hey, you know, we showing progress, you're doing good. I'm gonna let you go home early. Okay, cool. After I got home, this guy hit me up. He said, hey man, you know, I want to talk about mental health. You know, you sharing some couple posts, which I was at the time. You know, sharing my transparency and stuff. He said, man, you gonna do an interview? I said, yeah, man, that's cool. And we did. At this time, I was in the process of coming to Snellville, and he called me and said I was on the way back. I was on the way back to Augusta. Atlanta. I was coming back from Augusta. Had to go and get some stuff situated for my daughter. Cause that's when I got full custody of my daughter. Yeah, she lived with my mom. Yeah, thank you. She lived with my mom, so I make sure, you know, my mom is able, so I try to make sure they're good. And he said, hey man, I just got on the phone with this guy named Scott Hudson. And he said, he saw the interview we did with Ms. I just talked to him about 30 minutes, man. He said, he wants your number, man, so he can call you or whatever. I said, well, just send me his number. I'm driving, and I might call him when I stop, which I did. I called this guy. He asked me like 2 questions about mental health. And the first thing he asked after that, he was like, how you know Felicia Harris? The first thing that came out of my mouth, because I knew he had a conversation recorded, I said, who the fuck is that? And he said, well, you know, that's the person that they got killed in October last year. that supposedly was exposing straight men. I said, okay, what they got to do with me? He said, well, my sources tell me that you've been involved in a homicide. I was like, fuck you, the sources who told you that, you kissed my ass. And that was it.
Who was this guy?
He worked for Augusta News Press. It's not even an official news outlet, but that's what I actually looked up to see some of the staff that worked there. Matter of fact, I knew a guy that worked there, currently, named Michael Myers. You know, he called me 2 days later. He was like, hey man, Tyrus told me, the guy I did an interview with, he said, he told me what happened, man. He was upset, he asked you some bullshit or whatever. He said, no, I'm sorry about that. And I said, no, man, it's cool, man, or whatever. I said, I don't know who this guy is or what he's referring to or whatever. You know, maybe I think 3 days later, I got to see. The article came out July 29th. And I don't know if you saw it.
No, I haven't. I have not seen it.
I got it right here on my phone still. And it's saying that basically that I was supposed to have hung out with a guy named Gunslinger that stripped this person's car down to victim, and basically all types of conspiracy stuff. And they asked me, and even CID from Richmond County asked me. I don't know nobody name that was in the article. They had that person named Felicia Harris. Somebody named Taylor, Gunslinger. They asked me, did I hang out at the shop on Spring Grove Drive? I know what Spring Grove Drive is. They said it was an auto shop over there. I even Googled it. I've been Googling this place, man, for the last 4 days. Just look, I don't know. Never been over there. Never hung out with the person named Gunslinger. If they were sitting in the room right now, well, you know who the hell they are. Never been around either one of these persons, never had a conversation with either one of these individuals. You know, don't even know who is Taylor, the other person that was in the article or whatever. And he said, why would your name come up in it? I have no clue. I have no clue. They didn't ask me where I was that day, anything, you know. But that was Tuesday. We got Friday. Still haven't heard nothing from them or whatever. But so when I got a phone call from Richmond County, I told Lieutenant Pendleton, I said, hey, I just got a phone call from Sheriff's Office, my old department, in reference to this, and he told me. The next day I got an email from Captain an eye investigation about it. So,
which I think you understand.
Yeah.
They're kind of in a catch-22,
right?
Because
absolutely,
they have an employee
Yeah.
who's now quote unquote been mentioned
right?
in a homicide. And again, it goes, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. You want to support your employee.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you know yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you leave your behind hanging out there. So I get both sides of this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I spoke to the chief. I said, no, it's just this article came out.
Yeah, that's it.
So let me tell him I call him back. Now, in the conversation with the chief, you remember that booklet you filled out?
Yeah, I know.
Did he discuss? Did someone discuss any of this with you?
Captain, yeah.
Okay, what did he tell you? And then that way I can tell you what the chief related to me in reference to the booklet and a question about. But go ahead.
Yeah. He asked me, have I ever been questioned by police and referencing a crime or something? I said, yeah, with incident with my cousin, my little cousin.
And I remember we talked about it because it was in the book.
And there was another question in there. It said, have you mentioned something that you haven't said anything that we don't know about anything? And I left that question blank.
Let me pull it up.
Yeah.
I've got it right here.
Okay. The reason why I'm not
Go ahead, I'm listening.
okay. The reason why the reason why
Quick reflex. I'm still
yeah, I left it blank because I knew with law enforcement, you know, we have records. And I'm just thinking that, hey, they pull my records, you know, with the stuff, because I've been rolled up probably 4 or 5 times in Richmond County. I can only remember maybe 3, but I can just remember verbal counsels or something like that. But and he asked me, why didn't he tell me he went to a mental health facility? Lieutenant, not Captain, asked me, it was a lieutenant that was actually guy, he's worked on the cover narcotics task force or whatever. And I said, technically ain't nobody's business. And we just left it like that. But he said, if you was in my shoes, I was in your shoes, would you want to know? what you want to know? I was like, still it's nobody's business. And that's how I just left that question like that. But I said, I've been sharing my transparency. I said, you follow Google my name supposedly. We saw the stuff relevant to mental health that I was doing. I said it wasn't a secret. You know, I said if it was a secret, then, you know, I never would have did anything about it. You know, like did an interview or made posts about it. You know, and he asked me, it was something else.
So you're saying there was something here on the booklet that was left off?
Yeah, it's a question. He said I left blank. It said, is there anything that you want to say that you haven't been asked or whatever? So I forgot what it is.
Right.
They got it, and that was the only reason why it wasn't, you know, dishonesty or anything. Right. But you know, at first when I first came out with my mental health, you know, I was uncomfortable even talking about it. You know,
I understand.
So, but like I said, as far as the other stuff, my file from Richmond County, like he said, Taylor said they did have it, but they never put that inside of it. But because I guess medical, they never, I guess, personal or whatever, I guess, input.
Yeah, there's certain HIPAA. I mean, at the same time, law enforcement, I mean, you also underwent a psychological exam here.
Right.
As part of the, well, you took the written, I know that.
I took the written, that was it.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to remember, was it you that I thought was going to come here but wound up being over there or something? I can't, there was one that I thought was coming here to take the psych, but then when they didn't get here, I called.
Oh, that was me. That was somebody else. Right?
That had to be some, I know there was somebody that went over there, then we got it worked out, and that's when I found out that HR over there was doing the writtens instead of them coming over here.
Okay, yeah, you told me after I got done, go to HR.
Right, because you had to do your written. Yeah, I'm just
and it was another question on there. He asked me. He said, "Have you testified saying were you guilty in the ground or play no contest or something like that?" And I put yes because that situation with my niece, I guess what they would call it.
Well, now here in the booklet it says you were found. It says here, and I'll read it to you. In the booklet it says you were found not guilty.
Yeah, that's because we went to the little tribunal hearing, which I still don't understand. You know, I think I was like 15, 16.
Right, it's handled differently. You know, juveniles are handled differently than
and that was it with that. I never heard anything else.
It says, when I was a juvenile, I was accused of touching my cousin inappropriately. And on this, it says, I was found not guilty. Mm-hmm. You have the box checked, questioned by police as a suspect in a crime. Mm-hmm. You also have you ever been arrested or been the subject of a criminal complaint or indictment or been required to appear as a suspect or defendant in criminal, including juvenile, proceeding or before any prosecuting officer or investigative agency? You check yes. Mm-hmm. But it says, have you ever been convicted or pled guilty or pled nolo contendere to a felony crime? And you have yes.
Yeah, because we went to court. You know, that's why I got that expression from that question.
Right. And then, but down here it says, when I was a juvenile, I was accused. And I think I may have brought this up.
You did. You asked me. I think you asked me on.
Well, I mean, we talked about serious crime, but then I brought it up because there was a little bit where it says yes felony, but then down here it says not guilty.
Yeah.
And I remember you explaining that. And as a juvenile, and you were 15 or whatever, yeah, there's, so yeah, you checked yes.
Yeah.
But then down here it says, when I was juvenile, I was accused of touching my cousin, but I was found not guilty. And I think we talked about it or whatever. You said, no, I know we resolved it when we talked about it.
We did, yeah.
And obviously, as we talked about it, I think pretty much that was it. I mean, we talked about it, we discussed it. I pointed out the two different things there. And, but also keeping in mind that I knew this had came from Snellville HR, so it wasn't like Snellville wasn't aware of this because I got it from them. So that's why I wasn't as concerned about it because they sent it to me.
Gotcha.
You know, versus you just coming in here filling it out. Well, they wouldn't know what you maybe put down until so that's okay.
I remember the other question he asked me. I got a call to IA. I was on night shift. Somebody sent pictures. I don't know. I think we talked about this. Somebody sent. Well, I know who did it. some pictures of my daughter naked
No.
to my agency, her school, and every news outlet in Augusta, and some news outlet up here. Matter of fact, the news outlet up here called to the sheriff's office and said, "Hey, you just got these pictures."
No, I didn't know.
Yeah. My daughter had to go through, I guess, the GBI sex interview
Yeah,
all that stuff. Yeah. So I couldn't take her. My mom did. And to the point it affected her so much, man, they kept her back in 2nd grade. So she's in 2nd grade right now.
Do you know where these pictures came from?
Only thing I remember, because she got in joint custody. And it was pictures of my daughter. And I think that what they did is made my daughter get naked and took pictures of her. And investigator Terry Gore that was over this, he told me that, hey, you know, and they didn't take no polygraph, anything. You know, I did an initial interview like with IA and did that, and they were like, hey man, DPAS got to come to your house. Your daughter need to go here, but you can't take her. They took her to the FBI forensic thing or whatever. They took her to all this shit. And basically, you know, I still got custody of my daughter. They found no truth in it. My mom said
But in the thing, they accused you of doing it.
Yeah, they accused me of doing it. And,
which is very similar now to what we're sitting here about with this murder. So,
exactly.
Is this your ex, man?
That's what I'm thinking, but I can't put a finger on it. Now, he told me that the person that sent these letters in had fingerprints. This happened in 2019. I don't know how long. I've never been an investigator. I don't know how long it takes fingerprints to come back. He told me it's been 2021. I haven't heard nothing about it to the point where me and this investigator did get into it about that, because I feel like, you know, if y'all had any proof of this shit that they saying that I did, I'd be in jail right now.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's nothing, you know.
And absolutely. But the question comes up, it doesn't take with APHIS and all that other stuff with fingerprints.
Right.
Fingerprints can be done like that now.
I know that. And he claims that, because he told me this multiple times in a recorded interview, that we got fingerprints of the person who sent these letters in, so we're gonna find out who it is. And
now, one or two things with that. Mm-hmm. Either one, he was telling you the truth, or two, he wasn't telling you the truth, to see if you were going to confess to it.
Oh, okay.
Which Supreme Court says we can lie. I don't prefer to do that. Have I done it? Yes. Under certain circumstances or situations, I bluffed a guy one time. He molested a girl. She was retarded. I know you're not supposed to use that word now, but anyway, it was his sister-in-law. He was married to this girl's sister, and though she was 16, she had the mind of about an 8-year-old. He molested her, and they brought him in, and they said, we want to do a polygraph on him, but maybe if anybody can possibly get him to confess, it might be you. You want to try first as part of the polygraph exam? And I said, sure. So I sat down with him just like this, and we talked, and he was an Hispanic guy. And I said, hey man, you've been out a while. I'm gonna get a water. You want a water?
Yeah, that's fine.
You want one? Well, I'll go get you one. But anyway, I said that to him. So he got the water, and I gave him the water, and I drank mine. So when he got done with it, I said, you done with the water? He said, yeah. So I got it from him, and I put it in the trash. I left mine sitting there, but then I took the trash can out. I said, let me take the trash can out. So I took the trash can out. So when I came back in, I talked to him some more, and I said, remember that water you drank, that bottle of water? Yeah. I'm having it analyzed now for DNA. I said, I don't remember what her name was. I said, she said that you kissed her on her breasts. And that's saliva. And that saliva was still on her breasts. So we swabbed them. So we're comparing that to that bottle of water you just drank. Well, now and I know. You can't get DNA. It takes. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. So I said, I'm having it analyzed. So I'd already told somebody to call me. So my phone rings. So because they're watching the interview. So I get the phone and I go through the thing here. And so I go, okay, all right. Okay, great. That's great news. Okay. So I set the phone down. I looked at him. I said, got the DNA results back, man. It's your DNA on her breast. No, why would your DNA be on her breast? Was I lying? I was.
Yeah.
But this is about a child,
Right.
which would be very similar. I mean, you know, you would expect me to do whatever I needed to do if it was your daughter, and that's the way. Yeah. So have I? Yeah. But it's rare when I do it, and it has to be under some real unique circumstances because I don't want to have to get into court and explain. Now, I don't mind getting in court and explaining that one to a jury.
Yeah.
I just don't want to get into court and try to explain why I'm lying to somebody over something that, you know, because then I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
So it's a good possibility
Probably lying to me.
he was lying to you. There ain't no fingerprints.
Yeah.
And the other thing is normally what happens with stuff like that when it's sent in, so many people have handled it that it's virtually impossible to get prints.
Yeah.
And then you have to print everybody that's handled it. If it was sent in the mail, then you're talking about all kinds of fingerprints on it. Now, granted, the problem, sometimes it's good if you can zip it open, the inside, but the problem is, I can tell you right now, if it was sent, they're going to open it, they're going to look at it, they're going to pass it around. They ain't no prints, man.
Yeah.
You want some water?
Yeah.
They got no prints, man. That was to get you to, if you were involved in it, that was to get you to say, okay. Now, what the chief talked to me about, that there was a concern that during the interview process, when you did your oral or your interview, that
Oh yeah, I remember that too. I remember that.
there was some question about whether you intentionally deceived, you know, intentionally omitted or deceived or didn't disclose everything.
Yeah.
Is there anything to that?
No, yeah, I guess he talked about the question when they asked me what makes you want to come to Snellville.
Right, because he said that.
I said my girlfriend. Which
Right,
she did.
which that's what you told me in here.
And we broke up. We broke up a week before they hired me and her. And I told them that there's a lot of reasons why I wanted to come here. Number one,
And I'm trying to remember when we talked. Was she in healthcare? Or, see, I
remember.
I deal with a lot of stuff, but I,
Yeah.
you know, because I remember some kind of healthcare.
Yeah.
She was in some, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And we broke up a week before I got hired on here. And it was like I told them, it was a lot of reasons why, but that's just one reason why I had put down. You know, one of the reasons. Another reason was that I said in an interview that when Richmond County told me when I come back from the city, like, hey, you still got your car, you still gonna be on the road, you know, cool. And when I got there, everything changed. They put me in transportation as a jailer. They took my money. I couldn't work side jobs, anything. So I'm a single father. I'm struggling. You know, I went from $1,300 every 2 weeks to $800. You know, because jailers don't make shit. You know, in the jail. And
Well, would it also be fair to say, maybe you know this,
Mhm.
but one of the things that I learned, I kind of had to learn the hard way, but one of the things you don't do in an interview is bad talk.
Right.
Or down talk.
Mhm.
Your current employer
Mhm.
or your previous employer.
Right.
It doesn't come across well
Mhm.
when you're in front of a prospective new employer.
Mhm.
You familiar with
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I know.
Yeah, it doesn't, it just, I had to learn that the hard way.
Yeah. It's nothing. I had nothing against Richmond County. I look at like I honestly when I first got hired on them, like I said, yeah, this be it. Like I'm gonna retire from this farm. This is my hometown. There's so much in that community, man. You know, with kids and you know, just overall, just doing good things in that community. You know, just when they told me that when I came back, man, it was you know, like a stab in my heart, man. You know, I was loved, you know, and
Kind of goes with what I said about when they asked me to take a polygraph. It just really offended me.
yeah,
Well, you know, wait a minute. And in your case, hey, look, you know, I got an issue here. I dealt with it. I was up front with it, and now you're going to penalize me because I was honest. And you know, talking about mental health, I don't know if you ever met Dr. Sampson. He's the main. he's the main psychologist. He's older guy, he's from Boston.
Yeah.
Real cool guy. And I asked him one day, I said, Doc, what's the deal, man? I said, why is it if a person has a problem with their heart, they go to a cardiologist. They got an intestinal problem, they go to a gastroenterologist. They have problems with their legs or knees, when they go to orthopedics, whatever. I said, why is it that there is such a stigma involved when it comes to the brain, unlike other organs in the body? I said, I don't get it. I've never understood that. Why, one, there's a reluctance for people to seek help, and there's also a stigma attached to those who do seek help from other people. He said, and this is what really was intriguing to me. He said, you have to understand that this goes back to the beginnings of man. And I said, really, what do you mean? He said, well, as man evolved, and as they started to get into the Middle Ages and even the BC era before Christ, all that kind of stuff, he said that they didn't have the mental capacity nor the education to understand when somebody was mentally ill. He said, so when you heard about witches and all that stuff, like in the Middle Ages, he said that's what it was. He said they were mentally ill, but because of human beings' capacity to understand, they didn't understand that it was no different than a person with a heart problem. They got a brain problem. So because they didn't understand that, the stigma was attached to anything involving mental health, and he said it has carried over to current day, that you can tell somebody you got something going on with your heart, and they're like, oh, okay, I hate to hear that. You can tell somebody, you know what, I'm just having these crazy thoughts, and I'm thinking really, and they look at you sideways, and the first thing, you're crazy, or you're this, or you're that. He said, and that's what it has to do with. He said, and that's carried over from literally the Middle Ages to right now. And I'm like, wow, that's and it goes along with that. People don't understand, or they, because of everything that's always been associated with mental health, but the brain is no different than anything else. You have to treat it just as you would your heart, your stomach, your liver, or whatever else it may be. So a lot of times that's where that comes from. It's ignorance, that people don't understand. They still are associating certain things with certain things. So yeah, I can understand that if you try to address it and you did all the things you were supposed to do, and then you get penalized.
Yeah, and it's crazy, man. They like, we for mental health.
Right.
And it's crazy now, because I know some of my buddies that still work down there, they actually going through something like they actually paid money to seek counseling outside because of what they did to me. They don't want it to happen to them, and it's sad that the department has put it out there that, hey, we're going to support you, but in the long run, this is what's going to happen, So.
Okay. Is there anything else that we haven't covered in reference to this?
No, that's it.
Because I'm make sure. There's one question. As we go over these questions, I just want to see how you feel about it, and then we'll go from there. And if you, and I would hope with you sitting there, if you don't agree with something or you feel, then please tell me.
Okay.
That's what this is all about. I'm not going to just sit you down there and start asking you questions, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, you're trying to set me up here, man. So I want to make sure as we go over these questions that you are good with the question. I'm a little, I don't know if I have to say a little concerned. It's just one question that, but we'll see. Let's go over the questions. And just remember, as we go over these, if you recall, it's just like you're sitting there, we're through discussing everything, and you would answer yes or no. But again, if I read one of these and and there's a question or you have something, certainly I don't want you to say yes or no. I want you to ask, or say, hey, I got to point it out.
I got you.
Regarding your previous employment with the Richmond County SO and current employment with Snellville PD, do you intend to answer each question truthfully?
Yes.
Were you untruthful with the city of Snellville concerning why you were leaving the Richmond County Sheriff's Office?
Yes.
You were untruthful?
No, I thought you said, were you true? I'm sorry.
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, that's okay. That's why I want to do this. That's why if you sat down there and said that, you see where this would go?
I thought you said, were you true?
No.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be. That's why we're doing this. Were you untruthful with the city of Snellville concerning why you were leaving the Richmond County Sheriff's Office?
No.
Were you ever involved in a murder or attempted murder while employed with the Richmond County SO?
No.
Did you intentionally omit information or deceive members of the Snellville PD interview board when you applied?
No.
Okay, and are you comfortable with that question?
Yeah. Okay.
Have you been untruthful to the internal affairs investigators with Snellville PD concerning this investigation?
No.
Before this year, other than what we discussed, did you ever tell a lie to someone who trusted you?
No.
Before this year, other than what we discussed, did you ever tell a lie to stay out of trouble?
No.
Before this year, other than what we discussed, did you ever lie to cover up something?
No.
Is this the month of August?
Yes.
Are the lights on in the room?
Yes.
Are you sitting down?
Yes.
Are you okay with those questions?
Yeah.
Okay. My concern was on the did you intentionally omit information, because you said that you felt that it was not anybody's business as it relates to.
Right.
Right. But at the same time, as you pointed out to me sitting here, it wasn't a secret.
Right.
And would it be also fair to say that all of this was in your file with Richmond County SO? Or at least you would think so?
I would think so, because I know as far as the medical, as far as goals and stuff like that, everything's like HIPAA.
Right.
But some stuff with law enforcement, we have to know.
Right.
And that's what I thought.
Well, and it's kind of like parallel to what I said when you sat down. When the chief called me and he asked me about your booklet.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Chief, right off the top of my head, I can't recall naturally.
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, I'll send it to you. So I said, okay, great. So I'm on the phone with him. He sends it to me. I look at it. I go, yeah, I remember now.
Mm-hmm.
I remember this. I remember Augusta. I remember. If you recall, because I even told him, I said, I asked him about a polygraph examiner that was there. You remember that? I asked you about a polygraph examiner?
Yeah, he retired.
And that's exactly what I said. He told me he retired. I said, so we talked. I just didn't, I just don't bring somebody in and sit them down. And I said, we talk. I said, and I talked to him about a polygraph examiner that was there and described him. And he said, yeah, he retired. He knew exactly who it was and all that. So as we're talking, and we're talking about this booklet, and it came up, and I said, Chief, I would ask that you, not that he was mad or angry or anything like that, but we were discussing it.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, there was some question about what he put in the book and what. I said, but Chief, I got the booklet from your HR.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think that you all have already seen it. It came from you.
Right.
So, and it's kind of similar to what you're saying. That's the parallel I'm putting with this. You would think if you went through this through Richmond County SO and all that there would be something there. So you would just assume, and I know what assuming does, but in this case, it's there. It's nothing hidden about it. You did interviews about it. It was out there. So there wasn't. So you would think, well, it's there. Y'all check my file. I didn't per se absolutely declare it, but I didn't hide it either.
The guy that, the lieutenant that did the interview there I can't think his name, man. Captain Taylor seen where he was at. He was sitting over here, I was sitting over here. And he said, yeah, I saw the stuff about mental health. This right before I even said anything about.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he said that to you.
Yeah.
So you're under the impression, hey, it's an open book. Okay, so I want to make sure you were good with that. And the key to this is, did you intentionally?
No.
That's the thing. And if you recall, I said that when you took your exam, for the applicant exam, I said, there's two keys here. Did you intentionally? I said, if you don't remember, well, you don't remember. But if you remember, and then you go, well, then yeah, you're intentionally. But if, in this case, if you knew and didn't say anything, which, again, like you said, you really wouldn't have, but at the same time, you had a conversation with them, so it was out there.
When I got that question when I did the application, not one time my mental health came up as far as that. My first name that came up to my mind is, hey, my girlfriend, we moving here. She just got a job.
You told me that.
Yeah. And it was,
because I even asked you.
Yeah,
I asked you, why are you, why are you coming to Snellville?
Yeah.
You know, because it's like, out of all the places in Augusta that you're going to come to, you know, why Snellville?
Exactly.
You know, there's lots of other agencies, and you said, well, because if I recall, your girlfriend, former, lived here. I mean,
well, she's living in Augusta. She's from Detroit, but we moved together. Yeah,
right.
She got a job.
And she moved over here. And I remember that. I remember that part. Yeah, okay. So, it takes a second, man, because I do so many. So, but I remember all this.
And like the lieutenant said, he saw the article where they said, I said my social media accounts disappeared. Everybody knows this. When I moved to Snellville, I posted all the way up to the point where I did the swearing in with the chief. To the point I bought a U-Haul when I got all my stuff and I moved to Augusta. And everybody was like, how's he hiding? He posted where he went. People know where he at. Snellville even post me on their page. They even say, hey, they ask me, hey, can we post me on their page? It don't make sense. If you make an allegation to a person that said he did something, what y'all saying that he did doesn't add up what he's doing. Right. I get it.
But this goes back to what I said, man. They're kind of in a catch-22 now because so they want to. His whole conversation with me, from beginning to end, was he was very supportive of you, but at the same time, he's got, and I get it. He's got the liability of the city and the agency that he's got to protect. He also has a duty to protect his employees also, and that includes you.
I got a question for you now.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Now, I got allegedly accused for molesting my own child. Investigation. Not one polygraph. Same thing. I'm getting alleged. They said I'm getting alleged for murder. Accusations are I'm involved in the homicide. Why are they making me take a polygraph now?
Well, keep in mind, it's two different agencies.
Right, true. I thought that too.
So you can't, you can't say, well, this agency's doing this because that agency decided that for whatever reason, which really, to be honest with you, to subject you to that when there's no basis for anything. Again, different agencies look at things differently. That's why. You know yourself. There's things that Snellville does that Richmond County SO don't do.
True.
And vice versa. I mean, in the sense of procedures, policies, whatever it may be. So you can't go, well, wait a minute, they didn't make me take one over there. Why are you making me take? Well,
I mean, but they asked me. When I told them, they said, will you be willing to take one? Now, I understand the Garrity and Miranda and all that stuff. You know, they ordered me to take one here. Okay. They asked me, are you willing to take a polygraph? Yeah. That was it. And then we never did more anything. You know?
And that's something I was going to ask you. Because this is kind of a little different situation. But you brought it up, and I'm glad you did, so we can discuss it to make sure. So you know the difference in Garrity?
Yeah. Garrity, Miranda, yeah.
You do. And you understand that a law enforcement agency has the authority to order you to take one.
Correct. And that's what it is. Right.
I mean, you can certainly refuse it. That's still your right.
Right. And
but then they also have the right to, at that point, proceed with disciplinary action for failing to cooperate in the investigation.
Correct.
Do you understand, as a part of Garrity, because you were compelled, you were ordered to take this exam, you do understand that anything you would tell me cannot be used against you criminally.
Right.
You do. And good. I want to make sure that so there's no. That's not to say that those things could not be used administratively.
Right.
but certainly could not be used criminally against you in any way, shape, form.
Right.
And that's all based upon a court case that went to Supreme Court, Garrity v. New Jersey, and all that. Okay. And again, I don't mean to insult. I just don't know sometimes what people know and what they don't know. So I want to make sure that.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know.
All right.
Yeah.
Would you have taken this if they had asked you and not ordered you?
I do anything to clear my. Like I said, I don't know why my name come up with some shit like. Well, then when they put my name in it, like I said, former RCSO deputy. No name, but everybody knows. Then at the end of it, they said former RCSO deputy left the department and went to a mental facility.
So I asked you earlier about that. Your daughter's mother, is she that?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna tell you, my daughter's 8. I got custody of her when she was 3. It's been hell on wheels from now to then. Like she supposed to got her half of the time doing something with your court to say she didn't even get her. Didn't even get her, man. Only like she gets her on sometimes on her weekend, but during the week she's supposed to get a phone call. So they didn't even call this girl, man.
Does she work somewhere, man? What does she do?
She work at she do part-time at Home Depot. She work at a nurse in a hospital now. That's doing something.
Okay.
I don't know. But yeah, she's capable.
Did y'all grow up together, or was it? No, you just happened to meet her, and
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
okay.
And, but now her mother, which is her grandmother, which my daughter's grandmother, her mother, came to me twice and said, hey, this before I got custody, she said, hey, I really need help, with your daughter. Her mother's not doing what she's supposed to do. Now, this comes from her mother. Now, she got locked up for some traffic race, so she like 2 months in jail. And that's when I said, I'm going to get custody. Now, the mama had the baby. It was my weekend to get. That's how I found out she was in jail. She was like, no, we just got to wait, whatever. I said, what you mean wait? It's my weekend to get her. So what I did, I always do, get an officer to come out there with me, just won't be no confusion. And she's like, well, my daughter's in jail, and I'm not releasing the child. Now, this comes from a mom that came to me twice, said that she needs help, because every weekend, she's out doing whatever. She leaves the baby with my daughter for weeks, with a mother for weeks. She came to me, the second time she was crying. We was sitting at McDonald's on Riceboro Road, right in front of the Studio 8. And I was like, I gotta go by the court order. There's nothing much I can do, And that was it. And she's like, well, I'm getting older. My husband died with it. Her husband did pass last year. And I was like, what you want me to do? So that happened. That's when because the lady called me everything but a child that got me. It's the same lady that told me she needed help. She's like, I'm gonna get you.
So obviously it runs in the family.
Oh yeah, it does. And I was like, and I told Candace, I told my child mother, I said, now your mother came to me and told me that she wanted me to get custody of the baby.
Which naturally you were lying.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Oh yeah. She's like, my mom will never do this.
Exactly.
So, but is she capable of doing something like this? Oh yeah.
Well, at least it worked out. You got custody of her, and
yeah,
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So is there anything else, man? Anything else we talked? We covered everything.
That was it, man.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Do I need to take it off? Because I didn't have it on last time I did my polygraph.
You can take it off if you like.
You want
Sure. You
oh.
can. You can if you want to. I don't have a problem. You can do it either way.
Okay.
All right. This is what I'm going to ask you to do. I want you to take, are you right or left-handed? I'm assuming you're right because your watch is on your left.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to take the pen in your left hand, okay? I want you to take the clipboard in your right hand. Now you can set the board on your knee or whatever, but right in the center of the paper there, I want you with your left hand to write the number 5, right in the center. Okay, and circle it for me. All right, if I may have it back. All right. You wrote the number 5 and circled it. I'm going to write 2, 3, 4. You wrote 5, 6, and 7. I'm going to take this piece of paper. Let's see, where's my tape? I'll never use it. Oh, okay. I'm going to take this piece of paper. I'll close the door. I'm gonna take a piece of tape, and I'm gonna tape this paper right over there on the wall right in front of your chair there.
Mm-hmm.
After I do that, put all the equipment on you as we've already discussed. I'll put the air in the cup just like we discussed. I'll check it, come back over, and I'll come sit down, and you'll hear me say, just as in the other polygraph, please remain still, the test is about to end. Within a few seconds of that, I'm sorry, please remain still, the test is about to begin. Within a few seconds of me saying that, I'll ask you the first question. And the first question is going to be, regarding that piece of paper, did you write the number 2? And your answer would be
No.
correct. Did you write number 3?
No.
Did you write number 4?
No.
When you get to the number 5, I'm going to ask you, did you write the number 5? And I'm going to ask you to say no. Why do you think?
Because the other question you're going to take if I'm lying or anything.
That's one of the reasons. It gives me an idea of when you're telling the truth,
Mm-hmm.
when you're not telling the truth, the physiological reactions, and when you're telling the truth. But there's a lot more to this than that.
Yeah. Yeah, the last exam we did that when I got hired on Richmond County.
Okay.
Yeah, he did.
So he
Not like that. It was something else he did. I think it was something with lights on the room or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He told me, he explained the same thing you said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did he explain to you, besides the fact that it shows when you're telling the truth, did he explain the other parts to you?
I think he did. And he probably, like I said,
No problem.
Yeah.
Well, and like I said, I don't want to tell you something.
Okay.
You know, I don't want to talk to you like, you know. And at the same time, I don't. You know, we call this an acquaintance test. What does that mean? It means it's an old country term. One of them is after courting, but there's another one that says after getting acquainted, and that's exactly what we've been doing. Now, granted, we knew each other prior, but since you came in here and sat down, we've been getting reacquainted. A polygraph exam is not a cookie cutter, one size fits all. That equipment measures physiological activity of the body. Everybody's body is different. When you sit down there, I have to make adjustments for you, not the person that was sitting there beside, but before you. It's not a one size fits all. I have to fine tune, even though it don't look like it. That box right there and all this equipment's about 10 grand.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a piece of medical equipment.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm asking you these questions, I'm adjusting, I'm fine tuning, I'm getting acquainted with the physiological activities going on in your body. And it's giving me an opportunity to see how your body reacts when you're being truthful, when you're not being truthful, when you're being truthful. But since we're getting acquainted, and getting acquainted is a two-way street, what's it doing for you? Well, one, in your case, normally most people never taken a polygraph. You have.
Mm-hmm.
So you're familiar a little bit. You've got an idea. You've taken 2, you've passed both of those. So you got an idea, you know they work. There's no doubt in your mind that, okay, you know, I'm not, so you know. And what this will do is kind of get you reacquainted. It'll refresh your memory, like the 25-second delay in between questions, me asking you the questions, me putting the air in the cup, pumping it up, you know, going, so it'll kind of refreshen, and you go, okay, yeah, now I remember that. Yeah, I remember I remember that. I remember the questions, I remember the pause, and I sat there, yeah, that's right, I remember that now. I remember breathing. I remember the guy telling me just breathe normal, feet flat on the floor, look straight ahead, answer yes or no. But what it does, it gets you reacquainted with the whole process.
Right.
And at the same time, like I say, most importantly for me, it gives me the opportunity, the ability to get reacquainted with you and everything that's going on.
Correct.
With you.
Yes, sir.
Makes sense. Okay, cool. And I think, is there anything? I think we pretty much covered it all, man. Is there anything else that you feel? Yeah, you feel comfortable? Okay, very good. Well, with that being said, come have a seat.
Yeah, old man.
Hey, man, what you talking about, man? I did my last month. I did my first parachute jump since I got out the Army.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be doing that. My birthday next week, man, on Thursday, man.
You doing it like a skydive thing with a tandem?
They got one at Roswell.
Okay. Yeah. No. See, you know, I was an Army paratrooper, so You know, I have a video. I'll show it to you but yeah, I did my first jump in last month. We did a water jump. I jumped into a big lake in Florida, but I hadn't jumped, man, since I got out of the Army.
Oh man.
So, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're doing one of the skydive things where you're attached to something.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't do it by myself.
No, see, when we jump, we're paratroopers, so we jump. Yeah.
My buddy that he used to work for Richmond County, he a truck driver now. He was one in the military.
Yeah, this group that I'm in, you have to be military. They, you know, they vet you. You have to send me DD-214. They talk to you on the phone. It's a real big process. You just don't. And that was my big thing. I ain't just don't want to be group. You know, you get these folks who want to be and dress up. No, no, these are the real deal folks.
Right.
And yeah, they made sure that I was.
Right.
So I was cool with that. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, and just sit forward for me, that's good. Remember, raise your arms, touch your hands. No, you're good. No, you just let me do it. Okay, now you set your arms down there, please. All right. All right, next thing we're going to do. All right, just turn it over for me, sit it down. Sit back, relax, feet down on the floor, look straight ahead. And I'm checking. Please remain still. The test is about to begin. As a reminder, you're going to answer no to all the questions. Regarding that piece of paper, did you write the number 2?
No.
Did you write the number 3?
No.
Did you write the number 4?
No.
Did you write the number 5?
No.
Did you write the number 6?
No.
Did you write the number 7?
No.
Please remain still. The test is about to end. All right, I'll get some circulation in your hand. Maybe move it around a little bit, get some feeling in it. All right, I'm gonna put some air in the cup just like before.
All right.
You're gonna feel some pressure. And I'm gonna come around and check it. Please remain still. The test is about to begin. Is this the month of August?
Yes.
Regarding your previous employment with Richmond County Sheriff's Office and current employment with Snellville PD, do you intend to answer each question truthfully?
Yes.
Before this year, other than what we discussed, did you ever tell a lie to someone who trusted you?
No.
Were you untruthful with the city of Snellville concerning why you were leaving the Richmond County SO?
Yes.
Were you ever involved in a murder or attempted murder while employed with the Richmond County SO?
No.
Before this year, other than what we discussed, did you ever tell a lie to stay out of trouble?
No.
Did you intentionally omit information or deceive members of the Snellville PD interview board when you applied?
No.
Have you been untruthful to the internal affairs investigators with Snellville PD concerning this investigation?
No.
Before this year, other than what we discussed, did you ever lie to cover up something?
No.
Please remain still. The test is about to end. All right, I've also got some circulation in your hand. One of the things that I need to point out to you, to ask you, because you did it again, the question, were you untruthful with the city of Snellville concerning why you were leaving the Richmond County Sheriff's Office? And you answered yes when I asked you that just now. Remember when you were sitting on the sofa?
Yeah.
Okay, so you gotta really listen to it.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
All right,
It's not a thing to, but I just want to point that out because
Okay.
you're telling me no unless you really did mean yes.
No, I'm misreading the word when you asked me that.
No problem.
Question.
I'll
I'm
make
sorry.
sure. I just know, but that's why, yeah, that's why I'm pointing it out to you. So
Okay.
when we do the next one, I'm not going to just sit here and let you do it and mess yourself up.
I got you. I appreciate it.
Please remain still. The test is about to begin. Are the lights on in the room?
Yes.
Regarding your previous employment with Richmond County Sheriff's Office and current employment with Snellville PD, do you intend to answer each question truthfully?
Yes.
Before this year, other than what we discussed, did you ever tell a lie to someone who trusted you?
No.
Did you intentionally omit information or deceive members of the Snellville PD interview board when you applied?
No.
And just make sure you're not pressing your fingers down or anything on your right side. Just leave them flat. Don't move them. Were you ever involved in a murder or attempted murder while employed with the Richmond County Sheriff's Office?
No.
Before this year, other than what we discussed, did you ever tell a lie to stay out of trouble?
No.
Were you untruthful with the city of Snellville concerning why you were leaving the Richmond County SO?
No.
Have you been untruthful to the internal affairs investigators with Snellville PD concerning this investigation?
No.
Before this year, other than what we discussed, did you ever lie to cover up something?
No.
Please remain still. The test is about to end. Is this the month of August?
Yes.
Regarding your previous employment with the Richmond County SO and current employment with Snellville PD, do you intend to answer each question truthfully?
Yes.
Before this year, other than what we discussed, did you ever tell a lie to someone who trusted you?
No.
Were you untruthful with the city of Snellville concerning why you were leaving the Richmond County SO?
No.
Were you ever involved in a murder or attempted murder while employed with the Richmond County SO?
No.
Before this year, other than what we discussed, did you ever lie to cover up something?
No.
Did you intentionally omit information or deceive members of the Snellville PD interview board when you applied?
No.
Have you been untruthful to the internal affairs investigators with Snellville PD concerning this investigation?
No.
Before this year, other than what we discussed, did you ever tell a lie to stay out of trouble?
No.
Please remain still. The test is about to begin. Are you sitting down?
Yes.
Regarding your previous employment with Richmond County Sheriff's Office and current employment with Snellville PD, do you intend to answer each question truthfully?
Yes.
Before this year, other than what we discussed, did you ever tell a lie to someone who trusted you?
No.
Were you untruthful with the city of Snellville concerning why you were leaving the Richmond County SO?
No.
Were you ever involved in a murder or attempted murder while employed with the Richmond County SO?
No.
Before this year, other than what we discussed, did you ever tell a lie to stay out of trouble?
No.
Did you intentionally omit information or deceive members of the Snellville PD interview board when you applied?
No.
Have you been untruthful to the internal affairs investigators with Snellville PD concerning this investigation?
No.
Before this year, other than what we discussed, did you ever lie to cover up something?
No.
Please remain still. The test is about to end. All right. Circulation in your hand. I'm gonna let you sit there a minute while I take a look at this thing instead of, in case I need to do anything else. So just bear with me if you.
No.
Do you think you had any problems with any questions?
No, but one question that you asked me.
Yeah.
I got
The
the
truth
truth
one, yeah. This is kind of a mixed bag, and I really don't know. You have some problems with this thing, man, and that's what concerns me about this. It really does. I would hope you would say from our very first encounter and exam and this one today that I tried to be straight up with you. I've been honest. I've certainly not tried to talk down or anything like that. I want to make sure that you understood the process. So that's why this concerns me with these scores that I'm looking at, because based on these scores, you didn't do well on this exam, and that's the problem. And I'm wondering what, what's going on.
I think it's just that question, man. I know I was saying yes on it, then I was saying no because I didn't understand the wording, man.
Well, it's a little beyond just that question, though, Hal. You got some other issues. That one was a problem. Were you untruthful with the city of Snellville concerning why you were leaving Richmond County? And to be honest with you, I think you said the girlfriend thing, and again, is this something that's really, to be honest with you, I think you used the girlfriend as that was the reason, but in all honesty and actuality, what you just said, well, actually they were doing me wrong, and that's why I was leaving.
Well, that was one of the reasons why.
But I think, the problem, or not the problem, but the thing of it is, to them, that's what you told them. It was about the girlfriend, you were moving here, and you didn't. And I get both sides of that. I understand, like I pointed out to you earlier, you don't want to badmouth or demean the place you just worked at. At the same time, if you were asked the question, why are you leaving? And you said, well, it's because, my girlfriend got a job and she's moving here. That's not untruthful. Is there any other reason? No. that's where you get into where you're starting to you know, are you being untruthful? Are you just not wishing to say anything further in reference to that? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think that's what kind of happened with this is you use it, and it was true. She did move here. She did get a job. But I also think that there was another huge part of that was the way they treated you when you came back.
Mhm.
Is that, yeah. So yeah, that question caused you some problems. And to be honest with you, when you said yes, you were really being truthful.
Mhm.
You were. It was one of those, they call it a Freudian slip, where you're thinking one thing and you answer, or you're asked something, but you actually answer truthfully. And I think you actually did answer truthfully when you said yes. It was one of those. You did it twice. So it's, and you know me, man. I'm not gonna. But I think you were really being truthful. There was other reasons. It was. Would that be fair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, the next one is this one about, were you involved in a murder, attempted murder? You didn't do well on that question, and I don't know if it's because
With all the shit that's going on, man, with it just hit me out of fucking nowhere, man. I don't know this person, man. You know, they called me about it too, so Richmond County did, or whatever. And they never said they'd call me back, or whatever the case may be. That was it. That's last I heard from them. And I told Snellville. And I never experienced this before, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm nervous about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Had to come to a polygraph. Not my job on the line behind this, man.
I understand.
I don't know what I'm gonna do next, man. You know, I moved up here,
Right.
you know, and like I said, you know, I'm struggling with my daughter down there, you know, and it just.
No, it's left. And the other one that you even had more problem with this question than the other ones, man. And I'm trying to figure out, and have you been untruthful to the internal affairs investigator with Snellville PD concerning this investigation? They've asked you some questions.
Mm-hmm.
You've answered them. Mm-hmm. Is there some things that maybe you didn't completely answer, or you look back at it now because you had a real problem? You struggled with that question.
That was it. I mean, they asked me about the mental health thing. When he brought up the question about, he said, you got on this application that you put that your girlfriend got a job up here, which was the truth. When he said, well, you said that you left because Richmond County did you wrong. Ultimately, man, I wanted to get back on Facebook and put that everybody in my damn business. And the reason why I did leave Richmond County is because how they treated me when I got back.
You know, man, I'm gonna say this because you're of a different generation, but we put way too much out there about ourselves.
We do.
And I have a saying: you can't get mad when people get in your business when you let them in it.
You're right. That's true.
And you can't get mad when you want them to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you let them in it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this ain't beating you over the head. I'm just saying, man, I see it daily. And it just ain't, and I shouldn't say your generation. I see it just across the board, man. I see folks with the age they are, got more than enough sense to know, and they put stuff out there. But the thing of it is, once you get people in your business, don't get mad at them because they don't want to get out of it. Right? You let them in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm just trying to reconcile some of this, man. If there's some things that maybe you felt that those internal affairs investigators asked you, you just figured it wasn't none of their business, and you know, I can get that, where you would have a problem with that question, have you been untruthful? Because they may have asked you some things that you didn't feel was their business.
And the other one was about their mental health.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that's a part of that question, that, you know, the way it's, have you been untruthful to the internal affairs investigator with Snellville PD concerning this investigation? Well, this investigation concerns your mental health.
Right. And like I said, The lieutenant, he said that, yeah, I saw some of the posts about mental health and everything. It wasn't hitting, you know what I'm saying?
I get
Like,
that.
you know, but I, from your standpoint, I get what you're saying.
But the
You know,
question is, have you been untruthful when they asked you certain things? Did you neglect or did you decide that you just wasn't their business? You weren't gonna tell them?
Right, that's what it was.
Would that be fair?
Uncomfortable, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I think that's why you struggled with that question, because you know they're asking you things and you're just not comfortable talking about it. So I don't know exactly what you told them, but whatever you told them, I think you struggled with that question enough to cause you to have a problem with that question in the exam. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm going to sit and relook at this exam after you go, and I'm going to rescore it and see where I come up again with it at. Again, you've been in this business long enough. When did you start with Richmond?
2015.
Okay. And this is 2021.
Well, my hire date was March 29th, 2014.
Okay.
I went on the road 2015.
15. But you've been involved in this since 14.
Well, prior to that, YDC.
Well, I forgot about that. You're right. I forgot. Yeah. And when did you go to YDC?
2012 to 14.
Okay. So for 2012, you have been involved in some aspect of law enforcement. We're talking almost now, it's 9 years. It'll be 10, 22. I would think at this point, you have a pretty good sense. I call it the predator sense. You know when people around you mean you harm. You get that feeling, you get that vibe, you just know.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that you and I, in both of our encounters here, you haven't got that. I'm certainly not trying to mean you harm or ill will. At the same time, you don't have a responsibility to do this exam. I think we've agreed on some stuff. There's a reason why you failed these questions. It's because of other things that went on. Like I say, the one about the mental health, I think that's an issue. I can understand, not an issue, I'm saying in the sense of it's personal.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're questioned about it or asked about it, to me, it's the same thing. Well, would you be asking me that if I had a heart problem?
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. So that's why I'm trying to reconcile this. I think there's a lot of things going on here with you, your feelings, all of this whole thing here. Would that be fair too?
Yeah, it's just, you know, I saw my mom last night, man, and she was just pouring out crying, man. And it just, you know, growing up, man, never been arrested. You know, my mom took me and my brother to church faithfully every Sunday, man. You know, even though we grew up in the projects, man, we grew up rough, you know, never been in trouble at all, man, you know.
Well, I think if I recall, I made a comment that I said, your parents did your parents did a good job.
Yeah.
I made that comment when you were in here.
And, you know, just for somebody to even try to tie me to this, man, and, you know, my family got a hold of this shit, man. Me becoming an officer was because my uncle got killed the way he did,
Yeah.
man. And I'm here to create life, man, you know, to be a blessing, to give as much as I can while I'm here, man. If anybody know me, man, they'll say, man, this dude's funny. Hey, it don't even fit his character, man. I can name a situation where I've been in with me and my buddy Josh Freeman. He'll probably Snellville too. We've been in a situation where we should have took a life, man, and I didn't. You know, I mean, he's still in jail, but we would have been able to justify to kill this guy. He put out a damn Glock with a drum on it in front of us. And just like my buddy was quick enough to grab his hand and push it down, I had my gun drawn, but, you know, I could have took that dude's life with no question, but I didn't. And somebody want to put a murder on me, man, it's probably the most distasteful, devastating thing I ever dealt with in my life. You know, being an officer, man, we get accused for a lot of shit, but being accused of murder, man.
Well, and my issue is, I've always had a problem with they.
Mm.
Well, they said, who's they?
I don't know who it is.
And that's my point that I'm making. Who is, because you can't defend yourself from day. I call it sniping from afar. You know, like a sniper that's off a mile off. You can't defend yourself. You have, who is they?
Right.
They is nameless, faceless, and you can't defend yourself.
Right.
And I've also learned in life, if your buddy, you said, was it Josh Freeman?
Yeah.
If Josh Freeman said, hey man, I saw Alfonso out there in the garbage can, man, rooting around, eating out the garbage can. People would be like, no, are you sure? I don't believe that. Opposite. Hey man, they said Alfonso was out there eating in the garbage can. What, for real? Oh yeah, they is instantaneous, incredible. Whereas if you put an actual name with it, well, I don't know, you know, are you sure? But they commands instant acceptance. And I've never understood that. If they said it, you did it.
And that's why I made that.
Yeah, I understand.
If, like my buddy said, man, he said, man, if you was a fucking bag at a grocery store, nothing else to be about. The fact that you did so much in this damn community, and the fact that somebody said your name in that shit is.
That's why I have to ask, man, who has really, because there's some intense stuff there going on.
It is.
For you.
It is. It is. And I can't even, man, it's been crazy, man. I ain't been really talking about it. I don't know the fucking trust.
I understand. I get
I don't know
that.
who said it. I've been having weird dreams lately. You know, I don't know, man. Like, it's just, like, who the fuck would say I killed somebody? You know, it went from the first of it that I hired somebody to kill him. Then it went from me doing it myself. So it's, you know, it's ridiculous, man. You know, no major news source put that shit out. But that is not even a news.
Right.
It's just a group that made a page and said, hey, you know, we're going to cover stories and shit. So if they had any proof, any evidence pointing me to that shit, man, I'd be happy.
Well, and the question I have right now is looking at your polygraph exam and all that, and I mean, there was no red flags whatsoever when you did your first one with me. There was nothing. I mean, the serious crime question, it should have caused some issues for me to take note of, and there's not.
Right.
I mean, there was nothing there that indicated anything, which when I did that exam, that was in April. Well, if it had happened and you had been involved in something, it would have showed up then.
Right.
So I'm at a, yeah. So, all right. Well, I'm gonna call the captain, let him know, and I'm gonna let you take a break real quick, and kind of let you chill and get some fresh air, and you can drink your water and all that. And I'm gonna call him, and we'll go from there. But yeah, come on, man. I'll let you get out for a minute. Just get some fresh air. Yes. You know the rest of it. Don't do that. Yeah, and just hang that there. Yeah, and I'll give him a call. Okay.